Hello everybody and welcome to Bristol. Now over the last couple of months, to be honest, it's probably been quite a while now, we've had a few people saying that I should come back to Bristol and sample Stagecoach West. So that's basically what I'm going to do in this video. Now I'm mainly going to be sampling Stagecoach West in Bristol, as Stagecoach West don't only operate in Bristol, but they operate in some parts of the Cotswolds and mainly in Gloucestershire. However, my first bus would actually be a First West of England Enviro 400 MMC. I'd be taking this on the X39 across the Bath. This is a Bath City branded Enviro 400 MMC with extra Bath Unibus branding added onto the Bath City livery.
Users, please remember to tap off.
Here I am crossing the border from Bristol into Bath and North East Somerset near Cambridgeshire. Here I am passing through Cyprus. Along with Newton St Lou, this is the only place we travel through on the X39 service that isn't a suburb of Bristol or Bath. Here I am arriving into the extremely well-designed Bath bus station. The bus interchange here is extremely modern and accessible and is right across the road from the shops, and located next door is Bath Spa railway station, meaning that even if you're not here to go and visit some of the really nice shops in Bath city centre and the shopping centre across the road, it's still very easy to connect between public transport modes. As well as this, other buses depart from Dorchester Street, located outside of the bus station. Here I am at Bath bus station. Now my next bus was a Stagecoach West bus on a Stagecoach West service, obviously. And if you know your stuff, you'll know that my next bus would be on the 620 service, which is heading towards Stroud via loads and loads of places. The only place I can name is Yate. I've got to be honest, I don't know Stagecoach West too well, and I certainly don't know the 620 very well. I'll be taking this to a small village called Pucklechurch, located very close but not in Bristol. Just like most other buses on the 620 route, this service was formed by an ADL Enviro 200 wearing the newer Stagecoach local livery. As we leave the bus station, we can see the array of first bus vehicles located at the bus station. However, First aren't the only operator, and smaller operators such as Fairsaver and CT Coaches also serve the bus station directly, as well as the bus stop located outside of the bus station on Dorchester Street. As part of First's vision to become, it's either fully electric or zero emissions by 2030, I can't quite remember, but it's 2030, not 2035 like everybody else, so First have really upped their game, especially in the West of England operations with electric vehicles. Bristol and Weston-super-Mare depots, both Hengrove Park and Lawrence Hill, I believe, in Bristol, as well as maybe a few other depots like Marlborough Street, are receiving new electric U-tongs, whereas Bath Depot will be receiving some new power right street decks, which have recently been sent off from Weston-super-Mare to get converted to electric. Here I am passing the old Airdecker bus stop located opposite Bath Spa railway station. Due to works going on at the local Marks and Spencer shop, the A4 has moved to the bus stop behind, along with a number of other bus services. Now, you all know that I love my weird and wacky buses. However, one thing that I haven't managed to go on yet is some of Toot Bus's very strange open-top vehicle, mainly because the Toot Bus tours in Bath are very, very expensive for all three of us to go, and it's just expensive for me to go alone. And Bath is not too far from where I live, but yeah. However, that vehicle back then was a Volvo B90L Optare Olympus, along with some other Volvo B7L open top, which have a very weird name which I'm not going to pronounce because I'll probably butcher it, operate on the two Toot Bus tours that operate around Bath. I find it very strange that Bath has two open top routes, yet Bristol currently has none. Here I am passing through the small village of Wick, located on the outskirts of Bristol, just outside the Bristol Ring Road. I believe that apart from a Fairsaver service, which I think heads towards Chippenham or back into the Bristol suburbs, I think it's Kingswood, the 620 is Wick's only bus service. Here I am arriving into Pucklechurch. I alighted the bus on Goldfinch Way instead of the village centre, as it meant it was easier to change onto my next bus. Here is this ADL Enviro 200 leaving Pucklechurch, specifically on Goldfinch Way, on the 620 service heading towards Yate and then Stroud. Now, although my next destination was Yate, I decided to alight here in Pucklechurch in exchange for the 525 service, which also runs along a very similar route to Yates. However, this bus is originated in Emerson's Green. As well as the 620 and the 525 bus services, I also believe Pucklechurch gets served by the Eurocoach's 532 service, which also heads off to Yates. I believe it originates somewhere near Keynsham though. I'm not too familiar with the 532. Here I am, arriving into Yates on the road from Pucklechurch as well as a few other smaller villages. Now my plan was to take the 525 to Yates Shopping Centre and then take it on the way back out, as on the way back out of Yates Shopping Centre it does a small diversion route to a bus stop. I can't remember what it's called, but it's quite close to Yates railway station, and my next leg of the journey involves taking the train between Yates and Bristol Parkway. However, I found that if I got off right here, then I would be able to get on the train before my train at Yates station to head to Bristol Parkway, and then I would have no problem making the next bus. So, you know what I did? I got off here, went to Yates station, and then got the train to Bristol Parkway. Here I am now at Yates railway station. For a town as big as Yates, the railway station is quite small and there is no actual station building as far as I'm aware. It's just a lot of ticket machines and bog standard waiting shelters. Here's my next train arriving into Yates station, which I think was the 1208 service to Bristol Temple Meads, and I'll be taking this one stop down the line, about 7 minutes, to Bristol Parkway. Now I was hoping for a Thames Turbo along this section of the route, however I didn't realise that on the Bristol to Worcester trains they had started using Class 800 IET trains, so for this journey, because it originated in Worcester, I ended up getting a Class 800, which was a bit of a shame to be honest. Here I am now at Bristol Parkway, where there is quite a large bus interchange located outside of the main station entrance. Now unfortunately, the Stagecoach services that operate here don't actually operate that frequently, only every hour, so I did have quite a bit of a wait until my Stagecoach bus arrived. So in the meantime, here are some First West of England buses, mainly used on electrics. Here's my next bus arriving into Bristol Parkway on, I believe it was the number 10 route. I can't quite remember. I think it was the number 10. This is a Stagecoach Gold branded Stagecoach West Scania N230UD ADL Invar 400. Here at Bristol Parkway Station, the bus changed from the 10 route onto the number 12 route, and I'll be taking this on the full length of the 12 route all the way to the Severn Beach trading estate on the other side of Bristol. It was quite a long ride, but quite nice, but it was quite boring since the bus didn't actually get that busy. However, it did stop off at Cribbs Causeway along the way, so I thought the section between Bristol Parkway and Cribbs Causeway would maybe be a little bit busier. However, it was the other way round, and the bit between Cribbs Causeway and Severn Beach was actually busier, and a lot of people ended up getting off near Pilning, probably because its train station gets a terrible service.
Craig in the office, little Craig, he said he finishes at 1. They got those things today, finish maybe then tomorrow back home. But they should have left this way that much.
Here I am arriving at Cribbs Causeway bus station. Here you can change onto a few other Stagecoach bus services, as well as many other First and the Big Lemon services. I believe First, Stagecoach and the Big Lemon are the only operators here. I'm not too sure though. As well as this, you can change onto the Metro bus services, which are very fast, almost bus rapid transit style bus services that will take you from here into the city centre. As I leave Cribbs Causeway bus station, we can see a few other First West of England and Stagecoach vehicles. Since First announced it would go back to its corporate branding, this time with their new ultraviolet livery and their absolutely pants new logo. I'm sorry, but it is terrible. I could have designed it for free, yet you paid somebody millions to do that load of rubbish. Anyway, since First announced their corporate rebrand, especially with First West of England, a lot of the brands have kind of just gone out of the window. However, in Bristol, they're not actually rebranding into the ultraviolet livery, they're rebranding as Westbus. First West of England and Weka have some sort of partnership, and I think in the end, Weka would like all of the other smaller bus companies to join in, but it's easier said than done. It will mean that Bristol becomes very green though, which is brilliant to see considering that First Buses of Somerset hasn't kept its green livery either. Here I am passing through the small village of Pilning, where the bus service is quite well used. Although Pilning is very small, so you would think that the bus isn't very well used here, and that the majority of people actually drive. The reason why the bus service is well used is because Pilning railway station, which is utter junk, only gets 2 trains a day in one direction only, and that is heading towards Bristol. However, if you're willing to change at either Filton Abbey Wood or Bristol Temple Meads, you can end up going to Newport and Cardiff in the other direction, as well as many other destinations if you're willing to stay overnight or get the bus back, as the last bus at the station, well, I mean the last train, you know what I mean, is at 3:30 on a Saturday afternoon. Here I am arriving at the Govrier Way bus stop, located on the outskirts of the Severn Beach and Avonmouth trading estate. Now, although on the timetable this is where the number 12 service is supposed to terminate, it only has a 1-minute turnaround, and I'm pretty sure that is because the bus, after serving Severn Beach trading estate, does a loop around Severn Beach village itself. Now, I believe the number 12, because this part of the route isn't served very well, is the only regular service here at Severn Beach Trading Estate. However, a couple of times a day, Stagecoach and First West of England operate a few other bus services for workers and the public, so that they don't get left stranded here at Severn Beach with only the number 12 route. For example, in front of us is a First West of England Yutong on the 37 service, which heads right across the city to Knowle and Hengrove. However, I'm on another service which does run frequently, but not to Severn Beach Trading Estate. This is the number 10 service, and I'm going to be taking it all the way to Southmead Hospital. It's quite a long route, the number 10, and it does actually end up going back to Bristol Parkway. I only took it as far as Southmead Hospital so I could change onto another Stagecoach bus. Now, most trading estates, especially where I live, aren't that big and don't have absolutely massive factories. But Bristol is an exception. The Severn Beach and Avonmouth trading estates, partly because one of the UK's largest ports is located at Avonmouth on the outskirts of Bristol, and you always get loads and loads of cars coming in on ships into the Avonmouth trading estate. However, there are tons and tons of factories here for everything you could imagine. Even farm foods have got a factory. As well as this, Amazon has got at least two. I don't know how many Amazon factories I saw. Although I think you do get paid quite well now if you do work in a factory, and it creates quite good employment for the city of Bristol, the actual area surrounding the industrial estates in this part of Bristol in South Gloucestershire is very bleak. Here I am passing through Avonmouth, which is where the regular number 10 service starts, as well as the 11 service, which follows a very similar route all the way to Bristol Parkway via Southmead Hospital, which is where I will be alighting the number 10 service. As well as this, First West of England also operate a few other buses to Avonmouth, surprise surprise, and also the Big Lemon operate the 40 service here, which operates between Avonmouth and Brentry, and I believe from September 2025 the service is getting extended regularly to Cribbs Causeway, which is great for the people of Avonmouth. Here I am passing an Opta Solo SR EV in a bright yellow colour scheme. I would never guess who's operating this Opta. I haven't got a clue, honestly, considering it's in bright yellow as well. I honestly don't have a clue. Who knows about that one? Now, I'm just joking, it's operated by the Big Lemon if you really didn't figure that one out. However, I have heard that they're not too happy about painting their buses green, considering they've lost all of their commercial routes in Brighton and only operate a few select college and office shuttle services in Brighton, which means the only major place with yellow buses left is in Bristol. So if they're going to start painting their buses green, who knows what's going to happen to their iconic yellow livery that the Big Lemon have brought about. Here I am arriving at Southmead Hospital at the main bus station located at the hospital's entrance. Now, this is quite a regular theme on the channel, me visiting Southmead Hospital, so I didn't really film much here, and in a way I kind of couldn't, as I had a 0-minute connection and we arrived in about 5 minutes late. However, luckily my next bus was also running late and there was quite a large queue to get onto my next bus, I was quite lucky and I actually made my 0-minute connection. My next bus was the Stagecoach West 505 service, which operates between Southmead Hospital and Long Ashton Park and Ride, and is a surprisingly quick bus service, only taking around half an hour to 45 minutes getting between Long Ashton and Southmead Hospital. I think it's around half an hour. I won't be taking the service all the way to Long Ashton. Instead, I'll be taking the service as far as Redland, Blackpool Hill. Here I am on the 505 service, which actually used to be operated by Bristol Community Transport, and after that the Big Lemon. However, not long after the Big Lemon took it over, it was announced that with the new bidding process finally over, Stagecoach West would be taking over the route. And since the Big Lemon operated it, which was quite a few years ago now I believe, Stagecoach West have operated it ever since. Just like with a lot of other Stagecoach West routes around the Bristol area, on the 505 service, you can usually find a mixture of single and double-decker buses. On the day I was filming this video, it was mainly full of single-decker buses in the beach ball livery for some reason, such as this Enviro 200. I do quite like the beach ball livery. I'm not too sure which livery I prefer out of all four of the Stagecoach liveries. That is the Stagecoach Stripes, Stagecoach Beach Ball, Stagecoach Local, and Stagecoach We've Got You liveries. I think the least favourite is probably the Stagecoach We've Got You livery, as it is pretty much black, very, very dark blue, so I do struggle to see it quite a bit. Here I am arriving at Redland Blackboy Hill, which is another major point on the Bristol bus network, with a lot of buses heading into and out of the city centre, all converging here. Here is this AJL Enviro 200 wearing the Stagecoach Beach Ball livery. And one thing I quite like about a lot of Stagecoach buses is that the lights in front of the vehicle are actually surrounded by different colours. For example, on this particular vehicle, the lights were silver, and on some other vehicles in the southwest, the lights in the front of the vehicle are surrounded by black, just like some of the old Metro line Enviro 400s in London. Anyway, that Enviro 200 is on the 505 service, heading towards Long Ashton Park and Ride. And here is a West Bus Enviro 400 MMC. Very random, but I do quite like the West Bus livery on the MMCs. I think it looks better than the West Bus livery on the U-Tones. Now here's the destination board, and if you notice, that number 3 bus right there, due at 15:36, it says it's cancelled. Yet in a moment, that number 3 bus will turn up. Absolute joke, West Buses, or Weka, or West, or whoever manages this destination board. Or I think, to be honest, it's probably First Bus's fault, since they've told Weka that the bus is cancelled, yet here it is. Absolute joke. This happens loads, not only in Bristol, but across the southwest in general with First Bus. After a horrible street light turned up on one of the First Bus services, which is supposed to have a U-turn on it, here is my next bus, which is a Stagecoach West Enviro 200, once again as well, in the Stagecoach Local livery. And here's the street light. It's actually on the number 2. That's not supposed to be getting Yutong Scrap It. It's supposed to be getting double deckers, not single deckers. Anyway, this was on the 71 service, and I'll be taking this to the centre, located near the Bristol Hippodrome. Now, on the 71 service, you often get a mixture of single and double decker vehicles, so I kind of hoped I'd get a double decker bus on the 71 service, but unfortunately, I managed to miss out and got another Enviro 200. Here I am passing by Clifton Down railway station, which is on the Severn beach line. If I'd gotten off that number 10 bus service earlier on, just before Avonmouth Village, I could have gotten the train to St Andrews Road and been here way quicker. Honestly, what am I doing? Here I am passing through an area of Bristol which I'm not too familiar with, but I'm pretty sure it's called Stoke Bishop. It's located very close to one of the University of Bristol campuses. Here I am arriving at Bristol, the centre, located on Broad Quay and right next to the Bristol Hippodrome, along with many other posh restaurants, theatres and all the rest of the stuff you'd expect to find in a historic but not so historic city centre. Here you can change for a lot of local and interurban bus services, and as well as that, Bristol bus station is around a 5 to 10 minute walk away, as is Broadmead, where a lot of the much nicer shops are located and less posh restaurants. I prefer Broadmead to Broad Quay. Broad Quay is just for posh people in my opinion. Here is my 71 Enviro 200, leaving the centre, heading towards Bristol Temple Meads Station, which is my final destination, and hey, there goes a number 9 bus, the one I'm supposed to be on, but it left 4 minutes early, so at the time I actually thought that it was another number 9 bus running about 15 minutes late. Instead, it was my number 9 bus running about 5 minutes early, which is annoying because the one behind wasn't even an NMC for the number 9 service. It was another Scania Enviro 400. I'm getting a bit fed up with Scanias and Enviro 200. They're just quite boring, especially the Enviro 200s, not so much the Scanias. Here is my next and final bus arriving at the centre after waiting about 15 minutes, and once again this bus arrived early. However, I think it departed on time, so that's a fair point to be honest. This was another Scania N230UD ADL Enviro 400 and was once again, just like most of the other vehicles in this video, was in the Stagecoach local livery. However, I can't really remember, you'll find out in a minute, but I'm sure it was in a Stagecoach Gold interior. I'll be taking this all the way to Temple Meads Station Approach. That is Temple Meads stop T1, where I started this video. Here I am passing by Pucklechurch shopping centre, which is very modern. This is my kind of shopping centre. Along with the Gallery shopping centre, pretty much opposite and now pretty much completely empty. Both of these shopping centres are my all-time favourite shopping centres, along with a few other shopping centres I visited across the southwest and in London. However, I am going to Europe at the time of filming this video in a couple of days' time. I would have probably been by the time this video comes out. However, just in case I haven't, I'm pretty sure I will find some good shopping centres over there. I know in Paris they have a Westfield at Châtelet-le-Haut. I think that's how you're supposed to say it. I honestly don't know. My French is really rubbish. And I'm also hoping to stop off in Lyon. And at the Parc du railway station, there is another Westfield. So we'll see how that goes. Here I'm arriving at Meads station, stop T1. This bus on the number 9 will continue on to Brislington Park and Ride. Now, as that Stagecoach West Scania Info 400 leaves, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to everybody who has continued supporting the channel, and please like and subscribe. I don't get paid to do these videos at the moment. I do them out of my own time, my own money, and I'm only a 14-year-old kid. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. And look out for those videos from Europe. I'm pretty sure they're going to be brilliant. But like I say, I haven't even been yet, so it could be terrible. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone!